Tonight, the Prime Minister meets with Canada's premiers in Saskatoon. Wildfire evacuees call for more space as hotel rooms fill up. And he fled Vietnam after the war. 50 years after the fall of Saigon, this Saskatoon man recalls what it means to him.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, June 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The town of Ronge and surrounding areas are now being evacuated due to wildfires. An emergency alert Monday afternoon says the fire is fast moving and people need to get out immediately. Ronge, Air Ronge, and the Lac La Ronge Reserve south of Air Ronge are now under the evacuation order. People who can self-evacuate are being told to head to Prince Albert using Highway 2 and register at the Days Inn. Those who need a ride are to go to the Jonas Roberts Memorial Community Centre in La Ronge to register. You can bring one small bag of personal belongings, but you cannot bring your pets. The area is threatened by the Evacuee fire west of La Ronge, which also caused evacuations on Monday for Wadden Bay, English Bay, and the Namibin subdivision, as well as Sucker River. All this as another fire, the Ditch 2 fire in the Evacuee area, caused evacuations over the weekend for Timber Bay, Whalen Bay, Ramsey Bay, and Mullinosa.
Our crews are hard at work managing and protecting the resources of Saskatchewan. And we are very grateful to our partners who have come forward. So Quebec, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, British Columbia, Yukon, Northwest Territories have come from across Canada to help Saskatchewan. And we also have support from our U.S. neighbors, the state of Alaska, the state of Oregon, and the state of Arizona. So we appreciate their support as we fight through these very busy times.
Roberts says more than 160 structures have been destroyed, such as homes and cabins. He says the province is not calling in the Canadian Armed Forces to help because they have limited firefighting experience. And the thousands of evacuees fleeing wildfires are pouring into cities across the province. Hotels are struggling to find rooms for everyone, and evacuees are struggling to find rooms. Jeremy Warren has that story.
We're heading to the city. We have no place to stay. We don't know where we're going. We have no idea where we're spending the night or how long or where. The only hotel we could get a hold of is $200 and some a night.
On Monday, some evacuees who ended up in Saskatoon held a protest demanding more resources to fight fires and help those fleeing them. They hoped to get the attention of Prime Minister Mark Carney and the premiers while they're in town for the First Minister's meeting. One Denair Beach resident fled with her mom and two young children.
We drove through the night to Hudson Bay down an absolutely atrocious road with nonstop dust. It was terrifying. And then the next day made it to Saskatoon, where I ended up going into premature labor from the stress of everything that happened. So we're staying here with some family that's letting us stay for now.
Where evacuees end up depends on where they come from. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency manages some, as does the Canadian Red Cross. Some First Nations also manage accommodations for evacuees from their communities. But even finding a hotel room isn't enough. Hotels have to balance evacuees with those who have pre-existing reservations. Who gets bumped out is up to hotel management.
Whether it's an evacuation or now, if it's a family that's traveled, 100 miles to get to a ball tournament and they don't have a place to stay, right? So it's really challenging. It's a real ethical dilemma.
The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says there are at least 8,000 evacuees currently in the province. That number is only likely to grow. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And of course, smoke has been affecting people across the province as a result of all these fires. Christy Kleimenhaga from Environment and Climate Change Canada tells us how that smoke might develop in the near future.
Yeah, so I mean, when we're looking at our smoke forecast, it's important to look at where those fires are burning, not only in your province, but also in your neighbors. So when you're looking at southern Saskatchewan, a lot of that smoke that has been filtering in, also coming from fires in northern Alberta because of the flow pattern that we have through this week. You might see that continue. So keep an eye on that air quality forecast. Of course, more smoke in proximity to those fires in parts of, north central Saskatchewan. Looks like extreme northern Saskatchewan might see a little bit of relief in the next couple of days, just as that flow kind of pushes that smoke a little further towards the west. But if you're in the south, you could see that smoke on and off with those fires burning in northern Alberta too. So something to keep in mind.
And meanwhile, in the shadow of the wildfire emergency, Prime Minister Mark Carney met with Canada's premiers Monday in Saskatoon. Alexander Kwan was there and has this report.
This is just the start, and it's what Canadians expect and what they deserve.
That's the promise Prime Minister Mark Carney made in Saskatoon on Monday as he kicked off the First Minister's conference. But if Canadians were expecting specific nation-building projects to be announced Monday, they may have been let down. What the 13 premiers and Prime Minister presented was a document with sweeping goals but few details, and commitment to accelerate projects if they are in the national interest.
I have all the confidence in the world. The Prime Minister and his team are going to bring back the list. They're going to sit down, they're going to discuss it, to build these large national infrastructure projects from coast to coast to coast.
What we do know is that all of the premiers appear to be on the same page. They say there's a different tone in the discussions with Prime Minister Mark Carney compared to previous years. Ontario Premier Doug Ford went as far as describing Carney as Santa Claus, while Mo called it a great meeting.
I'm encouraged by the conversations that we're all able to have here today with respect to becoming that global energy superpower, but doing so by looking at all of the energy sources that we have, and that's what we're doing in Saskatchewan as well.
While everyone in the room seemed happy, many others feel left out. A group of First Nations chiefs from Saskatchewan and Manitoba say they felt sidelined without an invite.
Our position remains clear. We were never anti-development, but we are always anti-exclusion.
The chiefs extended an invitation to Carney and premiers to meet with them and come to an agreement that benefits everyone or face legal challenges.
We're united, we're stronger together, and the fight is coming. We're going to see government and industry either in court or on the land.
The First Minister's document does say the projects will be subject to consultation with Indigenous people whose rights may be affected, but it's not clear what that means or if it will be enough to address their concerns. As for the official opposition, they say they're ready to hold Mo accountable during this important moment in Canadian history. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And outside the First Minister's meetings, international students were protesting immigration cuts, including federal changes to reduce the number of permanent residents and provincial cuts to the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. Akashpreet Kaur moved to Saskatchewan from Ontario to put down roots, only to find out that won't be happening. Her work permit now expires in 2 months. She says her parents helped her pay thousands of dollars in fees.
Like they just paid my fees and every stuff. And now it's my time to pay, to return all the money, but I'm not able to do that. Even we are paying the employer so much money to get only the job letter. And also they are not giving us full hours. I am working 91 hours, 2 weeks, but he's giving me 85 hours. That's not fair. I can't help my family.
Those gathered in Saskatoon want the provincial and federal governments to work together and extend the work permits of those who are already in Saskatchewan. Well, from canceled contracts to investment pullback, Donald Trump's tariffs have put a strain on Saskatchewan's steel industry. And with more tariffs expected to take effect next week, one steel union is preparing for the worst. Trump announced last week he would double steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada, meaning it will now be a 50% tariff. In Saskatchewan, the United Steelworkers Union has experienced a 30% decline in steel exports to the U.S. since April. Now, the union is calling on the federal government to protect the steelworking industry.
We're happy to see there's some talk of ensuring that there's Canadian procurement on infrastructure projects, on public projects, but we think we need to double down on that and make sure every big project, every construction project, everything that we're doing in Canada, that we're buying Canadian and supporting those sectors.
The 50% tariff includes all steel and aluminum products. It is set to come into effect Wednesday. Well, this is a reminder those veggies you planted a couple of weeks ago likely need a good watering, just like the veggies and flowers growing in this community garden in South Regina. And you will likely need to keep watering them a lot. Weather specialist Riley Lachuk says there is not much more rain coming. He will have his full forecast for you after the break. Stay with me. This year marks 50 years since the end of the Vietnam War. In Vietnam, people were celebrating the country's path from colonization and conflict to reunification. But for those who fled, the anniversary stirs very different memories. Jeffrey Tram brings us the story of one refugee's journey and how it led to Saskatoon.
Hello, Tom.
This is the only way Dong Van Tran can connect with his family in Vietnam. Tran has only seen his family, including his mother, in person one time since he fled Vietnam many decades ago. He knows he'll never get to hug his mother again.
So this is all the last year in Vietnam? Yeah, the last year in Vietnam.
And at the age of 61, he's reflecting on the life he left and the life he built. Tran was born in the city of Quang Nai in 1964. At the time, the Vietnam War was well underway. It was a war representing two visions, communism in the north and capitalism in the south. Tran was 11 when his family tried to flee in the middle of the night, but they got caught in the crossfire between South and North Vietnamese soldiers. What Tran saw that night were images that would forever be etched in his memory.
The image in my mind until now is the skunk of the people just I saw that the blood is just leaking down.
Just over a month later, Northern Vietnamese soldiers successfully captured Saigon, marking the end of the war. Some celebrated the end of bloodshed and the reunification of a country. Others, including Tran, faced the consequences of a new communist regime. His father's work as a police chief with the South Vietnamese government made him a target.
When I study, I have problem that the teacher is beating me in front of the class. He said that my dad killed his dad, so he tried to kill me. So I cannot study.
He realized he had to get out. At the age of 25, Tran said goodbye to his family and escaped Vietnam by boat.
With 11 days, no food, no water. And two young men fell to the sea, died because of the typhoon, of the storm. And 2 children died because of thirsty for 11 days.
After 20 days at sea, Tran and the others were rescued by a Singaporean ship at an oil station near the Philippines. He made it to a refugee camp and applied to the United Nations to be recognized as a refugee.
So they deny me, yeah, and a lot of people deny, not only me. So about 4,000 people denied that time, I think so.
Tran would end up stranded in the Philippines for nearly 2 decades until 2008. That's when the Canadian government launched the Freedom at Last program to rescue the final 250 Vietnamese refugees living in the Philippines without status. Tran says his first steps in Canada is a memory he will never forget.
I feel I have freedom now, yeah. When I came to, I put my foot to Vancouver, that's like, I'm very happy. I feel I have freedom, true freedom.
Tran found his way to Saskatoon, where he's been living ever since. He says the Vietnamese community, which was smaller at the time, welcomed him with open arms.
They come to airport, about 20 of them, I think 20 of them, yeah, to airport. And they really prepare And I meet the one before stay in the camp with me. We stay the same house, and she already prepared the dinner.
This year marks 50 years since the end of the war. Many are celebrating a promising future in Vietnam, but Tran knows it would be a struggle for him to be allowed back into his home country's borders. This Buddhist temple in Saskatoon is one of several places where Vietnamese people in the city come together. Tran says it shows that even in a new home, you can still stay connected to your motherland and heritage.
I love my country. I always say that Vietnam is my first country. Philippines is my second country. Canada is my third country. So I have 3 countries now.
And while his family may be far away, they are never far from his heart. Jeffrey Tram, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, look outside at Saskatoon, where we have been seeing some showers in around the area and parts of the province, but it is not enough, of course, to douse the forest fires. Riley Lachuk has the details now on our full forecast. Hi, Riley.
Well, thanks, Ethan. And we are looking at air quality being a continued concern across a good chunk of the province as we get through the next couple of days, particularly through central and northern parts. Ronge over toward the Manitoba border, that under that air quality warning. This is where we're looking at some of that thickest smoke. More of a hazy sky toward the Saskatoon region into Prince Albert. This is where we're looking at more of that hazy condition, but certainly looking at still some continued air quality concerns. So if you're particularly susceptible to smoke or have some respiratory issues or know someone who does, just know that over the next couple of days, we'll see that continued air quality concern for a good chunk of the province. You can see from that fire that's burning near Prince Albert, north of Prince Albert, putting off some of that smoke as we see a more northwesterly flow. That pushes some of this down into the parkland as we get into the day on Tuesday, but certainly really across central and northern parts of the province do expect some haze at the very least, some local smoke at times as we get through the next couple of days. So that's the air quality. We have gotten a little bit of help from Mother Nature today. Big area of low pressure over the territorial border. This is spreading some rain into northern parts of the province, and a cold front that swept through has really pulled our temperatures back as well. So that's what's kind of helped things over the last couple of 24 hours or so here as we've seen those temperatures kind of pull back a bit. But looking at some instability into parts of central Saskatchewan, this could bring us some pop-up thunderstorms as well as we get overnight into Tuesday morning. So just keep that in mind that we could get into some thunder and some lightning here. Really that risk persisting as we get into early Tuesday morning, really across southern and central parts of the province. Tuesday starting under a mix of sun and cloud again in the afternoon. This particular forecast modeling indicating the detection or the possibility of some pop-up thunderstorms again. Not saying that's exactly where we're going to see some rain, but certainly just know that we could see some thunderstorms again the next couple of days as we sit in this sort of unstable pattern here. Really, in terms of rainfall, pretty negligible. We could use a lot more than this, but you know what? We'll take what we can get for now. And again, a lot of this will depend on where we see some of those thunderstorms happening. But the story as we get into Tuesday certainly will be the wind. You can see those winds really picking up out of the northwest as we get into the day on Tuesday. 30 gusting 50 for Prince Albert. Could see some gusts even up to 60 into La Ronge. So we are looking at some pretty windy conditions, and that won't help that firefight in parts of northern Saskatchewan. Slight chance of showers in Regina tomorrow, maybe a pop-up thunderstorm, 19 degrees. Sitting below seasonal till Thursday, then we'll jump back up above seasonal and actually crank up the heat a bit as we get toward the end of the week. Maybe some more showers into the weekend. A risk of thunderstorms into Tuesday for Saskatoon. Temperatures warming up to the weekend, and we do see another chance of some rain over the weekend again.
Okay, we'll hope for that. Thank you, Riley. Well, this is the Grand Tomatina Columbia Festival, taking place in a town north of the country's capital. The main ammo, about 45 tons of tomatoes that are overripe or not suitable for consumption. A bloody-looking fight that leaves the ground beneath red with juice. It's a tribute to the residents of a town that mostly produce and live off tomatoes. The three-day annual festival attracts some 20,000 visitors. Very messy. Stay with us. We're back after the break. Welcome back. Training camp has wrapped up, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders are officially preparing for Week 1 of the CFL regular season. The Riders wrapped up the preseason with a 27-20 loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at a smoky Mosaic Stadium on Friday, where the majority of starters got the night off. The Riders are bringing back a large majority of the roster that got them all the way to the Western Final last season. Head coach Corey Mace says that will be an advantage as they try to get off to a quick start in 2025.
Having that continuity and the cohesion, just it allows you to hit the ground, a little bit faster. And for us, training camp, preseason game, we're on a short week heading into Week 1. It allows you to move a little bit quicker earlier in camp so that you kind of get up to speed to where you need to be to start the season. So we're happy with the people that were retained in the building, coaches and players alike, to hopefully allow us to go out there and do what we're hoping to do on Thursday.
And the Riders host the Ottawa Redblacks Thursday at Mosaic Stadium to kick off their 2025 CFL season. It'll also be the first regular season matchup in the entire league. The Riders went 1-0-1 against Ottawa last season. Kickoff is set for 7 o'clock.
All right, well, looking at cloudy skies, the potential overnight of maybe a few rumbles of thunder across south and central parts of the province, looking at 8 degrees overnight in Yorkton, 6 in Regina, with that chance of thunderstorms towards central parts of the province. I mean, pretty isolated in nature, but just know you could run into that as we get through the overnight hours and into central and northern parts. This is where we have that risk of seeing some smoke, some haze coming and going as we see that shift in wind direction to a more northwesterly flow, getting into the double digits by lunchtime for many in the north as we get through the afternoon tomorrow. Pelican Narrows 13 degrees, Ronge at 16 degrees. Again, the further to the east you go toward the Manitoba border, that's where we have the best probability of seeing some of that wildfire smoke, particularly through Hudson Bay, Priestville, Kenora, even into Yorkton. I think get some pretty smoky skies as we get through the day on Tuesday. Temperatures below seasonal, looking at 18s and 19s in the afternoon. And as we get into the afternoon again, that chance of some scattered thunderstorms.
All right. Thank you very much, Riley. And that is it for us. For all the latest on the fires and all of our news anytime, you can always head to our website. Or if you're low on power or data, you can check out cbc.ca/LITE for the latest. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe.